Hi, everybody. Welcome to Endometriosis Unfiltered. I am the voice behind at endometriosis.za on Instagram, and this series is about centering lived experience, the pain, the resilience, the grief, the healing, and everything in between. And today I'm excited because I have a very special guest. Not only is she an author, but she is a fellow Endo warrior. So, Lerato, thank you for joining me on Endometriosis Unfiltered. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi. Hi, Bontle, and hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
So, before we dive into anything, how are you feeling today? How, if you could say on a level of 1 to 10, one being good and 10 being okay, this is really bad. Where's your pain at today?
I can say I'm at a 5, 4, somewhere there. I've had a tough couple of days, but I'm doing better. I got some help, so I'm doing so much better. Some days are good, some days are bad, but I think I'm at a 5 and a 4 going. Hopefully, I'll be at a 1 soon.
Yeah, no, I fully understand. Some days you're at a five, and I think sometimes five is normal. Five is like, this is a good day, honestly,
Balance.
compared to
It's
sometimes
balance, yeah.
it being beyond a 10 at times. So,
Yeah,
I just want to
yeah.
say, thank you for being here and just for your time to have this conversation. So, just to get into things, why don't you take us back to your journey when you first felt like something's not right in my body. I am, either starting my period and this is not normal or it was normal. And just take us back to when you first started thinking something's not right.
Okay, I started my periods very early when I was like 12, right? And as a 12-year-old who knows nothing about periods, I was always in excruciating pain. The throwing up, the not being able to walk, I would miss school and things like that because my periods were just not. But all you hear is that it's normal. Like the pain is normal. Every woman goes through that. Your aunt was like that, but she had kids and whatever, whatever, whatever. So for the longest time of my adult life, I didn't think I had a problem. All I knew is that I have very crazy period pain because that's how endometriosis introduces itself through periods. So I just thought I had very crazy period pains. There's nothing wrong with me. It's normal. One day I will have a child and it will get better. That's what I believe because that's what I've been told. And throughout my journey, I think I got my diagnosis very late, but throughout my journey, for me, everything was normal. The throwing up expected, the not being able to walk expected, the not going to school or not going to work expected. Those were normal. So it's not something that I knew from the beginning that there's something wrong. And even when it happened, I didn't report it as something wrong. I'm on my periods and I'm gonna mess up my clothes. I'm gonna mess up my bed. It's going to be a mess because I had a heavy flow from a very, very young age. So every time I'm on my periods, I know that, oh my God, there it goes again. So for the first couple of days before I start my periods, that happens. And we go, and when they start, we paralyzed. And I remember I was put on a pill because my father took me to a doctor when I was about 13, 14, and I was put on a pill, but my hormones were out of control. And within a couple of months, my dad was like, Gelly, we are stopping this pill. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. I don't know what it's supposed to do, but we are stopping the pill. It's not like it was helping because my flow was still very crazy and I was still experiencing the pain. So for that, my whole teenage life, it was like that until at a very adult age that I collapsed at work and I was rushed to a hospital. And yeah.
Wow. No, that's obviously that sounds like, a lot of our stories, how it starts and it's normal. But what were people around you saying? Were they the ones sort of, reinforcing that like, ah, no, man, this is part of the experience? Or what were people around you saying? Did anyone at any point say, no, I think you need to get this checked? Or did anyone know what endometriosis was?
No, I'm a village girl. My mom is a village girl. So all
Mm,
she knew is that period pains are normal because the younger sister used to struggle with them. But she's a mother of three now, but so there's no problem. So there's no way at any point in my life, like when I was a bit younger, that I actually got an idea that I might have a problem until, like I said, until I was like 23, and then I collapsed at work. I was rushed into hospital. Even then, I didn't know I had a problem. I was suffering, still having periods while I was working, but nothing in me said, you need to check this out, because the ignorance in me said, this is normal. This is what every woman goes through. So
mm,
when I collapsed, I was rushed into hospital, and I stayed in hospital for about a week. I remember it was a day before Easter. And I know if you're a village girl, the day before Easter, you have your bag ready because you are traveling, you're leaving the city to go home. But I couldn't leave the city to go home. I actually left work and was admitted for a week. Even with that admission, no one told me that I had endometriosis. It was, you won't be swollen, you're just trying to, calm it down, whatever. That was my first experience with a gynae, by the way. They won't be swollen, you have to calm it down, we have to whatever. And then they did that. I was there for a week. Then I went home for it to recover. I think I stayed home for like 3, 4 days. And then I came back to Gauteng again, because I had a checkup and to be cleared as well to go back to work. But when I got to Gauteng, I was so hungry. I remember that morning very, very well. I was so hungry. It was around 7 a.m. I got to KFC. I had my burger, those snacks, small snack burgers, breakfast burgers. I had that. Then I headed to my doctor because my appointment was at 9. And when I got there, I was feeling fine. I was just a girl who got discharged a couple of days ago. So I was feeling fine. But when I got to the doctor, pain and things of the womb are the funniest thing ever. When I got to the doctor, I did some scans like, I'm rushing you to theater. Why are you rushing me to theater? You had a ruptured cyst. Have a ruptured cyst? Okay, what is that? All of a sudden now I think I'm in pain because they told me that something has ruptured inside of me. And he was like, have you eaten? And I was like, yes, I've eaten. Like, okay, we have to wait now for the digestion to take place, so you go to theater the latest day. So I went to theater around 1 p.m. and I had my first surgery was a laparoscopy. So I had a laparoscopy, and after laparoscopy, you're still drowsy from the anesthesia and all those things. And when I got back into my ward, the doctor came, the gynae came and to explain to me what happened, and he said to me, "Oh, we also found out that you have endometriosis."
mm,
And remember, when I was admitted for that week, I did your MRIs, but they didn't see anything.
yeah.
So you also have endometriosis. I'm drowsy. I can't even pronounce this word at that particular
Mm,
time. I didn't know what word to. I was like, okay. All I said was okay.
I
Okay.
think,
So basically that was
yeah.
that. So I didn't know about it until that particular moment that my gynae said it. And that was the beginning of the journey for me.
Mm. Yeah, I think, what's so interesting is just all the things you're mentioning and what popped out to me. And I constantly think about this, especially, in South Africa, and how we're, received in the healthcare system and how people take
Yeah.
care of us. And I know you mentioned, you're a village girl, and Easter time, you just have to show up, you just have to push through. So do you feel that that may have, whether it was when you went to go see a doctor, they were just like, this is just another girl from the village, or a black woman who she's supposed to be strong, or this is normal? Was the attitude received well, that people wanted to investigate that? No, man, let's see, something's wrong, although you like you say, you came in for an ovarian cyst, but how was the care for you? And did being, say, a black woman, a village girl, did that impact your road to getting a diagnosis, and that pushing through that we always do as a strong woman? Did that influence how you even for yourself were like, okay, I'm not gonna look up anything, I don't need to figure out what's going on, because I just need to keep going, I just need to be strong? Did that influence how you approached your journey
Um,
finding diagnosis?
Um, at that time, remember, I didn't even choose my gynae. I didn't have a choice of a gynae because I was taken straight to casualty and I
Yeah.
was assigned a gynae. A man just came in and said, "This is your gynae." He will see because you have a gynecological issue, right? And I cannot talk about at that time whether I've been dismissed or
Mm,
I didn't even know that I needed to advocate for something. I didn't know that I needed to. I had painful period pains. They are not normal because I grew up believing that was normal, even though we know that with periods it can never be normal. So I didn't have a journey whereby I needed to fight. I needed to be heard when I got my diagnosis because my surgery was an emergency, and after that emergency I have a diagnosis. But the issue I had was nobody prepared me, or nobody prepares you after that diagnosis. I mean, you're just telling me now I'm drowsy, I just came back from theater, that you actually have endometriosis. What is endometriosis? You're not telling me that. You're a doctor doing your rounds. I'm just from theater with this person. She has endometriosis, and the nurses are writing down, give her this and that and that. At that particular moment, you have no questions. I had no questions because
yeah.
I did not know what this word means.
Mm,
I was not a big gyno. I mean, I was like 22, 23. I did not know what this word means. All I knew is that this man has told me something.
mm,
But from that point going forward, it became my responsibility. But when I was still lying on that bed, I did not know. All I knew is that there's a diagnosis which I forgot about actually when I was
mm,
discharged because I could not even pronounce the word. I was like, it will probably go away. It was probably an infection, no infection. They treat it and it goes away.
yeah.
So I did not know what that means. But what actually happened when I already knew what I was dealing with, where I felt dismissed and gaslighted by a doctor. And I was so hurt and disappointed that it's a female doctor. I worked at a hospital, right? A public hospital and all that. I already knew I had endometriosis. I already had my facts. I knew, I did my research. So I had a flare up when I was at work. So having that flare up, there are those flare ups that we take, that you have your hot water bottle, you sleep it off, you take your painkillers, you take your heat patches. But there are those ones that I need help. And
Yeah.
you know when you need help,
Yeah.
you know when you need help. So I had the kind of flare up that said I needed help at that particular moment. And you can get to a doctor's like, give me an injection and sound like a junkie.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
they
can't
always
do
think
that.
like you just want like give me the drugs. No, I'm in
Give me
pain.
something. All I need to is something to kill this pain. So I got
Yeah.
into casualty, and the lady who was the doctor that was in charge of the casualty on that particular is a woman. And you would think that because I worked at the hospital, they knew me, I knew them, I would get the privilege of being treated better or being taken serious. So I got in there. My colleague is pushing me on a wheelchair because I could not walk. So
Mm,
when I got into casualty, she said to me, "Oh, what's wrong?" Because I already knew my problem, the first phrase I start with is, "I have endometriosis."
mm,
That's the first thing that I would say. I have endometriosis and I'm in so much pain. And she casually said, "Oh, you know, man, when your periods are coming, just take your anti-inflammatory pills and your painkillers." I'm not on my periods. I'm not going on my periods. I'm experiencing a flare up. And that at the most painful thing is trying to advocate for yourself when you're already in pain. You're
mm.
already in pain. You don't have the energy to tell this person, listen, just give me the injection so that I'll figure
Yeah,
myself out
yeah.
after
I
this.
know.
So
It's very
she,
true. Yeah, and I
yeah.
mean, you're mentioning that, sorry to just cut you, but you worked in the system and now you have your own, colleague now helping you out, but it seems that even they maybe don't necessarily understand what it was, and at the time you didn't have a name for what you were going through. How did you find navigating it as a patient? And then if you maybe look back now, do you remember what that could have been like working in the system? So just to walk us through the public, maybe private, just the healthcare system. How is it as a patient, and how do you believe it was just working if you saw maybe someone coming in with whatever you were experiencing, in the same situation? How was that, or what were some of the differences, you know?
Okay, I worked in the system, right? And I've also been a patient in the system, like in private sector and in public sector, right? But the problem with both, I'm not going to even separate them. The problem with both of them is that your pain is actually minimized. I
Mm,
don't think people understand how painful endometriosis pain is. I don't think people are aware how, you will tell yourself that I have, my pain tolerance is very high. My pain tolerance is very high. By the moment I ask for help, then it's over for me,
yeah,
right? I cannot take it anymore. So the moment you find me in hospital on a hospital bed, you must know that it's going down,
it's
down very
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
It's going down very bad. So having worked in the system, and when you get in there, I didn't work in gynae, so I didn't know people that would come in there to consult. I only knew about my experience, that every time I go in, I need to explain myself. Listen, this is my problem. Okay, I reached a point where I say, give me an injection. Just give me an injection for this pain. I will deal with the rest because I know where to go from here. That's what I used to do. And it made you feel entitled because they will say you're entitled. Why are you telling us what to give you? We are the doctors, you're a patient, and also going to private sector, to private hospitals as well, and you're coming in as a paying, you know how our medication is expensive. Medication is very, very expensive. And you get into a super specialist, have this super specialist, you are explaining that this is my problem. But I've also learned that with private gynaes, the most important thing for them is to preserve fertility instead of actually dealing with your pain. So they're not naturally, they're helping you with the pain. We have to cut you, remove whatever is making you painful, give you a relief for a couple of months or weeks, and then it comes back. But the most, because I reached a point in my life, even when I was in private, that I said, please remove my womb because I cannot continue like this. But unfortunately, it is outside my womb as well. So removing my womb is useless. But that thing that you hear, you are still young, there's still potentials of you having kids. Yes, I love to have kids. I had dreams of having kids, but you're
Mm,
still, yeah, having potential. But at that time, in that pain, that's not what I'm looking for.
yeah.
I'm not looking for you to preserve my womb. I'm looking for you to say there are other options
Mm,
out there than actually removing the womb. But we hardly get that. We don't get that in public sector. We don't get that in private sector. Public sector is pushing the numbers. We have to meet a certain target of patient. Private sector is saying, hey, I can take this and this and that from the medical aid and I can still preserve the womb. We can still try this one. But nobody is giving you the tools to say, outside of you dealing with this and preserving, just to preserve your quality of life, then this is how we can treat your endometriosis, right? All that information, we go out there and look for it ourselves. And that is the most frustrating and draining thing you can ever do when you have endometriosis.
yeah, I mean I know that's something that so many of us have experienced, and most doctors unfortunately say, no, but wait until you have children, or just try this, and it's like it's not that's not a sustainable thing to tell patient. I don't think it makes sense, and at times it's not very helpful, So what you're saying, it takes me back to even being told as a teenager, like, no, maybe you should have kids now. And it's like that does not help, and that is not the solution, like you're saying, because it's outside of the womb. And this is what I usually share with people, that endometriosis can affect beyond, the womb. There's people that say it's reached their bladder, their liver, their
Yeah,
legs,
yeah.
things like that. And I know you mentioned the struggles with infertility potentially and stuff like that. Could you walk us through, if you're open to it, on that's looked like. Was there a worry? Um, how have you navigated that? And what's your journey been like with that?
Initially, I was not worried. Even after I got my diagnosis, I was not worried. As a girl, one of the things that I've always dreamt about is like, I'll get my life right, my career will go right, then I'll be a mother. I mean, being a mother has been one of my biggest dreams in life. I've always wanted to be a mother. And people will tell you that there are so many ways to become a mother, but those ways are not the ways that I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be a mother the natural way. So it hit me so hard when I was actually told that I can never have kids naturally, right? It hit me so hard because even if you go the IVF route or any other route, there are no guarantees that you can have kids. And then they tell you also about your equality this, your equality that. There's so much information out there, there's a lot of information that you get told that you have to absorb on your own and try to understand, and it doesn't make sense. So for me, the infertility journey has been the hardest of them all when it comes to endometriosis. And with it came with, you can't removing my womb won't matter because I will still experience the pain. It is outside my womb. Now I'm carrying this womb that is actually useless according to me because I've always wanted to be a mother. I cannot use this womb to carry a child. So what must I do? So I've been in a position whereby today I don't want children anymore. Today I'll say that I'm done. I don't want children. I'm okay with it. And then tomorrow is a different story. I want to try this. I want to do that. I want to do this. Someone said I must drink this. Someone said I must do this, and it's working. And you try things. You drink this and that, and you have a flare up that you'll end up in hospital because you've interrupted your whole process of how your womb and your endometriosis respond to things. So when it comes to infertility, that was I think it's not even in the past. It is the most,
Yeah.
for me, it's the most painful thing
Mm.
when it comes to this condition. And it's so unfortunate that I only realized it later in life that actually I have fertility issues. Because for me to be like, I will have a kid like any other girl, I'll have a kid normally like any other person. So when the truth hit me, I think it took me a very long time to actually try to understand or try to come to terms with it. Like I said, today I'm okay. Today I'll be saying, I don't want to tell, but tomorrow I'm going to say a different story. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it's been for you. It's probably a really, really heavy journey. And like you're saying, some days you're good and you're like, nah, I don't want that for me. Other days, like you're saying, you're like, yeah, this is what I dreamed of. I've wanted this for so long. And um, I just, I'm so sorry that that is what you're currently experiencing. It's not in the past because you were told then
Yeah.
that it's what you know, it's like that is your daily struggle. But I hope that what can encourage you is that that is not who you are. You are not useless. You are not, the diagnosis. Your identity is not in your ability to have children. And I know it's not easy because there's also like a grief, I think sometimes that comes with it, that you have to mourn what you thought your life could look like. And miracles happen all the time. It can happen, but there's that grief where you're like, one day you're hopeful, then the next you're not, and um Mother's Days, you're very sad, and then the next you're like, I don't even want this. There's so many, I think, layers to it. But I appreciate you just being open and sharing that, because for so many others also going through it, it can be a very painful journey. And so I just
Yeah.
appreciate you
Yeah.
opening up and allowing yourself to share that. And just even with that, I've just been wondering, is that a journey you're going on by yourself? Have you had romantic relationships? Like, do you talk to people about this on a date? Like, I like to ask this question, but I'm always wondering, it's all good and well when you're like, yes, it's all loving and supportive of my partner, but what does that look like? Maybe it's not the same as the next person, Um, what does that look like?
I think relationships for me are the trickiest part, right? Because my therapist like saying I self-sabotage. So
Mm,
when I meet a new person, a new potential person, I don't put me first, but I put my diagnosis first.
mm,
Because for me, rather I get hit now than
yeah.
later. So if you know that one day we might try to have sex and it's going to be painful, then maybe this is your cue to leave. If you want children in the future and this girl might not even give you children or any potential of having a child, then you might as well leave now. If you know that, listen, we might be out somewhere having the time of our lives and I can have a flare up just right there, then it's time for you to leave. So relationships for me have been tricky to navigate, like literally tricky. And you find yourself, or I find myself going back to what feels comfortable. What feels comfortable for me, or what is familiar. You go back to a person that knows you.
Yeah.
You go back to the person that knows you, and your diagnosis, no matter how healthy or unhealthy the situation might be. But no man is an island. I mean, I haven't planned. Like I say, I'm a family gal. I plan to have kids and to have the marriage, to have the husband, to have a partner or whatever like that. But life hasn't afforded me those opportunities. Like I say, maybe it's because I put my diagnosis first before I put myself first. They'll say, allow a person to know you first. And then after they know the person that you are, then you can bring all these other baggages that you come with. But that's not how I do it, because the heart is so stupid. The moment, next thing I'm hurt for days, for months,
Mm,
because this person is no longer responding the same. So because of that, also opening myself up to new people, I struggle with that.
mm,
It's one of my biggest struggles. I struggle with meeting new romantic partners. I'm not comfortable with that. I know I've been living with endometriosis for 20 years, 10, more than 15 years, knowing 20 years, knowing, but it's it's one of those things that I haven't found a way
mm,
to actually allow myself to be out there and to be seen as I am, and to believe that a person genuinely loves me,
mm.
genuinely loves me apart from this. So romantic relationships, they've been touch and go.
Yeah.
They've been touch and go. They've been very difficult. Like I say, maybe I center this condition,
Mm,
but it's not even about that. It just has been something that has not been easy. I mean, who loves a complicated girl like me? You are living with a stage 4 endometriosis, not even stage 1 or 2. I'm on stage 4 endometriosis. I have infertility issues. I have PCOS. You have all those little things that comes with it, and you're like, most of the time, there's no month that can actually complete itself without me having issues. So I end up just putting myself in a situation whereby, if I cannot accept myself as I am, again, maybe it's a matter of acceptance. If I can't accept myself that this is how it is, then how will the next person see me?
mm, mm. So, with everything you've said and that you've shared with us, how would you say that has, or if it even has it affected your mental health, and what other aspects of your life has it, impacted? So, has it affected your friendships, your career, finances? I know might be one for a lot of us, but has this how has this, firstly with your mental health, and then in other areas of your life? How has it impacted you?
It has impacted me very greatly with my mental health. I think with most part of it, I didn't realize, like I said, I centered my life around my fertility and having kids, right? So when that realization came, my mental health got affected. I still go to therapy. I believe in therapy. It works. It works. Financially, it's a mess. You spend a whole lot of money a month on just trying to survive and yeah. And with my career, definitely has. It
Mm.
had definitely has. Unfortunately, I work in a very hectic industry, and there's always deadlines and all that. And with my previous employer, it did not end well because one of the discussions that was had was, I'm always sick. I'm always
Mm.
sick. Why am I always sick? I'm always sick. I'm always
Wow.
not well. Yeah. So it actually has affected friendships. It does affect friendships because you are not always available. One minute you make plans, you'll be available, but something happens, you have a flare up and you're not able to attend some things. Sometimes you have to choose between attending things and buying medication or seeing a doctor. Something must be compromised,
Yeah.
and friendships do get affected. No one also wants to be a victim
Yeah.
of always say shame, you're always the one who has problems. No one wants that. So it does affect friendship. It has affected some of my friendships. And when it comes to relationships, we've spoken about that on how much it affected. But generally, it affects um, a lot of it affected a lot of my personal life, even my family. There's a lot of family functions I don't attend because they will ask me about, when am I having kids. They'll be asking those questions, so I don't attend a lot of family things because I'm avoiding that. Even if I attend, it's just touch and go. I'm in and I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's one of those
Yeah.
generally expensive conditions in all aspects, not just financially.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I need people to stop doing that and saying, when are you having kids? Why aren't you? Why did you think? Oh, I'm just like, oh my gosh, please, we need to stop as a
Yeah.
people. We need to
I
mind.
hope I hope people get that message soon.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because it can be so damaging when you're constantly hearing it and no one really knows what you're going through or how painful it is, or even when you explain yourself sometimes, it's like you're not understanding me. You clearly think it's a painful period, but it's throughout the month. It's impacted, like you're saying, friendships. You feel like now you're not reliable. You choose now between, paying for this and paying for that, or how frequent you can even go to the doctor. It's so many layers to it that sometimes I just wish people would understand that there's so much to it, and um, I just acknowledge you for just being able to share and be open. But in the midst of that, you wrote a book that I'm so excited to speak about. You wrote a book, and yeah, I'd love for us to get into that. How did you get to writing this book? What, inspired it? Just share with us how did you get there?
As an endogeli, I don't like using the term though, as an endogeli, endo warrior thing, we are diary keepers. We are journal keepers. We keep a lot
Yeah.
of journals. So over the years, you keep a lot of journals. But how I got to write this book is not something that I sat down and thought about it, that I am going to write a book. I didn't. I was going through one of my depressive episodes, obviously, and it's just a bad day, and maybe I didn't have enough money to pay for this and that and whatever. And I was also tired of answering the question of, when are you having a kid? you
Mm.
know and I don't like calling myself an author because I don't think I'm an author as
There
yet.
you
But how
are.
I don't think I'm an author as yet because I woke up one day. Okay, I'm going to take you through a very long story. So I woke up one day and I was not feeling well.
Mm.
I was not feeling well. I don't know if you have this, but there are days whereby it feels like your thighs or your legs have no blood flow,
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
there's no blood flow, and you can't sleep, you can't sit for long, you need to walk around to get that relief and release. So I've been going through that for a while, and I was not getting any blood flow on my leg. If it's not the right one, it's the left one, so they were interchanging, and you're not sleeping, and I can't take a day off because work doesn't understand why I'm always off. I can work from home. I woke up that day feeling so sorry for myself. I felt so sorry for myself. I was depressed, I was sad, I was I had a whole lot of not so good emotions on that day. And a lot of authors will tell you that you don't have to say a prologue, when you write a book, you don't have to write the word prologue, they will know. But the first poem that I put down in this book was the prologue. It's the longest poem in the book. It's the first thing I wrote in the book. It was the prologue. And I just went in because I actually didn't know what to say to myself, but I needed motivation to go to work. So I wrote that prologue, and it became so long, and I just wrote it. And when I was writing it, I knelt down. I literally knelt down, and I was on my bed just writing because I could not sleep. I could not sit. I had to walk to get that muscle, that blood flow into my legs. And I wrote the prologue, and then I went to work. I got back from work, and I was like, it was a Friday, I remember. And I read my prologue again, and I was like, okay. The following day on a Saturday, I was cleaning my bookshelves, and I took out all my diaries, and I just went through them over the years. And it took me literally 3 weeks to bring this book together.
Mm.
Literally 3 weeks I had a book, and I just put everything together in that book. And all of a sudden I had a cover. I did the cover myself, and everything in this book is me. And I never changed the title of my book. It stayed the same from day one until whatever, but it was basically me tired. I was tired of the questions. And I was like, if it's out there, there's a book by Lerato talking about this, you have no reason to ask me any other question. So that's how this book came about. It was not about advocacy. It was not about um, other girls out there like me. It was literally me putting everything that I've ever written down, and obviously modifying it and bringing it together. And obviously I had to filter a whole lot of things that I was not ready to share. They are not in the book, but it's something that I just put together in 3 weeks, and I had a book, which I
Mm.
was not planning to publish and share, but I had a book.
So at any point, whether during that time that you're putting it together or even afterwards, now that it's been out for some time, has that been healing for you? Has it been more maybe triggering? How has that been for you now that it's out? And I know you're like you can refer to the book. Don't ask me anything. It's there. But how for you for self? Because I know for me, I wrote my books because I needed to heal for me, and putting it out there was a way of my outlet, and I was like, I'm releasing this. And so in your case, how has that been for you? What did that do for you?
I think I didn't expect it to pick up the momentum that it did, because I was not advertising a book. I was not advertising a book. I mean, you use on my social media pages. I hardly talk about the book. I was not advertising the book. I was not talking about the book, but I had a book. And I think my friends did more work than I did when it comes to the book. But when it got out there, I get a message on TikTok. Somebody will say, I remember one of the messages that touched me. This girl sent me a message on TikTok, and it was a very long message. She said her boyfriend got her the book on her birthday, and because the book is on take a log, so every copy that I take a log, I literally sign it. I'm like, this is not a story of hope; it's a story of validity. Yeah, the pain is valid. it. So she sent me a message and to say her boyfriend got her the book for her birthday because she's been suffering. So her partner got it for her, and she can't thank me enough for actually validating her and her pain. And I always said, even if just one person takes something out of it, it's enough for me. And there's something one of my friends said, because I always thought I didn't write enough. Is this enough? Is it worth the money that people are paying for this book, you know? And one of my friends said, listen, this is your story, it's nobody's story. So even if you just wrote a title and have empty pages in it, it is how you tell your story that is important. So trust us when you say you've written enough. Now that is out there and I talk about it, it is a portal for me. I'm healing through it, and I get to understand as well that I might have not get everything I want, or I might not get the baby that I want and everything else that I want, but whatever I've been able to achieve and whatever life that I've been able to touch through this book is enough. That's all I could do. So it's a portal now for me. It still feels a bit weird, and you know, as someone who's a bit reserved, when I get a message or when I meet some, I have your book. I'm like, oh, thank you, thank you. But it is literally just now a portal. It is healing some of my wounds.
Is there a favorite piece or line you have from there that you'd like to share with us?
I have a piece that I chosen, but I don't think I'm going to read the one that I chose. So I'm going to read one of the pieces that is actually on the last page of the book. It's actually the last piece I wrote. It's one of my favorite pieces because not everything must end in gloom. So I titled it, I Am Still Woman. I am not my womb, not a cycle, not a diagnosis. I am not my weight, my scars, my symptoms, my survival. I am the woman who stayed when lovers left, when dreams died, when hope flickered. I have bled and bloated and broken, and still I survived. I carry a pain most will never name, a grief that walks with me softly, daily. But also, I carry poetry and laughter and grace that refuses to give up. This body, she is sacred, not because she birthed a child, but because she birthed me. I am still woman, still worthy, still whole, still here, surviving. Yeah, that is the last piece in this book.
It's so beautiful. I thank you for sharing that. I don't even, I want to just like leave it there and just like everyone just stay there, and for everyone wanting to know, anyone looking out for what it is, that is not all wombs blossom the same. So, so beautiful. And I think that is a message for everyone. I don't even want to ruin that, you know. But I think if we could leave with one thing, I would just maybe ask, what do you wish people in South Africa, in communities, churches, the medical system, what do you wish they understood about living with endometriosis, and a message that you would share to anyone going through it? What's something you'd leave behind for them?
Firstly, not all wombs blossom the same. Literally, they don't blossom the same. And what I wish our communities would understand, churches and everyone else, is that a woman is not her womb. Literally, not our womb. There's so much out there that we can actually offer, and we are literally not our womb. And to my girls out there who are suffering and they don't know what's going on, your pain is valid. Your pain is valid. You must not undermine it. You must not think that it's normal. It's not normal. You're not supposed to be living with pain. Go out there and seek for help. And what I wish also for our medical professionals to do is to listen. to listen. They know their job. We can't tell them what to do, but I just wish they listened attentively and they listened better, not to chase numbers, but they listened to the girls, to the women who walk into their surgeries desperate for help. And what I wish South Africa could do is actually pick up that policy that is gathering dust in Parliament to approve the menstrual leave, and so that they know that if you have a diagnosis, we have this menstrual leave that can help a whole lot of women out there that are like me, that suffered at work because of their pain and they couldn't take leave and they couldn't do anything about it. And I wish that Parliament can actually pick up that policy. There's been screams about it, and do something about it and protect us, protect our work. And to everyone else, our families, our friends, when I cancel plans, it's not because I'm being mean. When I cancel plans of being mean, when I say I'm in pain, sometimes you don't say you're in pain because you're trying to just, move on with the day. But the moment you vocalize and say, I'm in pain, I'm in pain. So I wish that people can be a bit kinder, a bit understanding, and the environment feels safe for us as well, and it embraces us softly.
Mm. Oh, I'm so grateful for this conversation. I wish it didn't end, but fortunately, that is all the time we have, and I'm just so, so grateful for you sharing your journey, your story so openly, and being so vulnerable with us, and sharing a piece of not all wombs blossom the same. So I'm so grateful, and I just want to say thank you. Where can we find you on social media?
Not a social media girly. Not a
Okay.
social media girly. I'm
Where can we
active, but
find
I'm
your
on.
book though?
I'm not. You can find me on Instagram at Lerato_D. You have my handles, and my book is on Take a Lot. You can find it on Take a Lot. It's listed there, and you can get it directly from me on WhatsApp, or you can just contact me on Instagram. Then I'll respond.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Lerato, and thank you to everybody. This is Endometriosis Unfiltered. I am Bontle Moka. I will continue creating spaces for healing, truth, and a community where we can exist together. Until next time, make sure you like, you share, you comment, and yeah, just keep in touch with us and stay tuned for Endometriosis Unfiltered. Thank you.